Okay, so the first question is from Mohini from Brighton.
La primera pregunta es de Mohini de Brighton.
Pranam Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
So I had got the thought of this question a couple of weeks ago because you
Tenía esta
sometimes
pregunta hace un par
say
de
that we have
semanas,
to use the head to soften the heart.
porque siempre dices
And
que
I
tenemos que
was
usar la cabeza
wondering,
para
what
suavizar
does it really
el
mean
corazón, y me
to have
pregunto
a
lo que
soft
quiere decir
heart?
en
Because
realidad
you might think of it in a sort of a
tener un
sentimental way
corazón
or a superficial way. So
suave,
I was wondering,
porque
what are the
para mí quiere
characteristics of
decir
somebody
ser
who has a soft
sentimentales.
heart, and like how do they behave like towards others or towards themselves, and what do they not do? Could you kind of give us some maybe
Si nos
some
puede
words
aclarar.
what that might mean?
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, I guess I've emphasized the problem with the head. So you want to talk about the condition of the heart.
Entonces parece que no ves problemas con la cabeza y quieres hablar de la condición del corazón.
We shouldn't use the head for its own purposes, collecting information.
Uno no debería usar su cabeza solo para acumular información de por
what
sí.
Krishna consciousness is constituted of.
No es esto la conciencia de Krishna.
From sadhus, we study the
Escuchamos de los
scriptures and so
sadhus,
forth
de las
to get
escrituras, etcétera,
insights into how to apply ourselves in bhakti. So
maneras en
the
que
application of ourselves
quedarnos ocupados
in the
en
giving of our
bhakti.
hearts in devotional service, in the acts of hearing, chanting.
La enseñanza es que tenemos que usar nuestro corazón en actos de devoción, cantar, escuchar, etcétera. Esto es lo que tratamos de lograr a través
head, if you will, using our
de
head to learn
nuestra
about bhakti,
cabeza,
what's the
del
nature of
intelecto,
Bhagavan,
aprender lo que
what is
es
the nature of
bhakti,
the
la
jiva,
naturaleza
what is
de
the nature of
Bhagavan, del
bhakti,
jiva,
so on and so
de
forth,
bhakti,
all
etcétera, etcétera.
these topics. So we don't want to use our head to collect that information.
Pero no queremos
so we can
usar la
regurgitate
cabeza
the
para
information.
colectar esta
People can think we
información
know something.
y
We can start
luego
to think we know something and we've
vomitarla
gone somewhere.
encima de alguien
When
para
we
que
haven't, only when that
piense que somos
information, if you
superiores
will,
o avanzados.
is taken into the heart and
No,
soften the
queremos que
heart,
esta
which is what your
información
question's about.
baje al corazón y
And
que
what we mean by that
suavice el
is
corazón. Lo
that
que
we
quiero decir con
become
eso
more
es
disposed
que el
to
corazón,
give
nuestra
ourselves
actitud debería ser más
in the
dispuesta
practices
a
of
lo que
bhakti,
es darnos,
that they not be
entregarnos
done mechanically,
enteramente en la
but
práctica del
we
bhakti,
chant,
no hacerlo de
as I
forma
sometimes
mecánica,
have said,
cantar de
well,
forma
when
mecánica,
asked
como
how to
digo
control the
siempre.
mind when
Cuando
chanting,
la
I say, well, you chant
cabeza
with your
trata de
heart, because
controlar
whatever
el
your heart, put your
corazón,
heart into, that's where your head is going to follow.
el corazón, la cabeza
this is the
sigue
main
lo en que se enfoca
idea.
el
We kind of
corazón.
have a hard heart.
Nosotros tenemos un
And
corazón
what I mean
duro,
by that is that
endurecido.
we're self-centered.
¿Por qué estamos tan,
So
somos
our
tan
heart's beating
egocéntricos?
for our sense of material identification. If it gets threatened,
Nuestro
it beats
sentido de
faster.
identidad material,
Use
siempre,
the
cuando se
physical kind
encuentra
of
amenazado,
metaphor in terms of speaking about the heart. So our heart is beating for the necessities of our perceived identity. It needs this beat
nuestro corazón
for,
late en relación a la
believe
identidad
it,
material que
necessities
tenemos.
of God. Now, what does God need? Of course, we can say God doesn't need anything, but
Dios no necesita nada.
the school of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu likes to say something further
Pero
about
en la
that,
escuela de
by way
Chaitanya
of saying that
Mahaprabhu
he
se dice
lives,
que,
if you will, on love,
que
lokavatu,
Dios
lila
vive
kaival,
de
he's
amor,
moving out of love.
Lokavatu
The
y la
world is an
Kaivalyam.
expression of his
El
own
mundo
love,
entero es una
and
expresión de su amor.
he has his own inner world as
Y él
well.
tiene su mundo
It's
interior también.
driven by the love of his devotees.
Que está enteramente guiado por el
when,
amor de sus
let's give an
devotos.
example from the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says, Patram, Pushpam, Phalam, Toyam, Yome Bhakti Prayachati, Tadaham Bhakti Uparitam Ashnami Prayatatmana. He says, offer me a fruit, flour,
dice, ofréceme
water.
un fruto, un
These are
flor,
the
agua.
implication here. These are
La
very readily
implicación
available
es que
things. I mean, you can't live
esas son
without
cosas
water.
que se
Doesn't
encuentran
matter how poor you are, how uneducated you are, or what other lack of
muy
qualification you
fácilmente,
might
no
have. You're
importa
going to
lo
have
pobre
water
que
if you're
uno
alive,
esté,
right?
no puede vivir sin agua.
Flowers are fairly regularly available, but if not, anyway, there's water.
Las flores
A
también se
leaf, if you don't have the
encuentran,
flower, well,
no
flowering
tan
tree,
fácil
well, a
como
leaf, if you don't have flower, you don't have
el
a leaf, at
agua,
least, as I said, you've got to have water, right?
o si no hay flores, siempre hay
We're running out of
hojas
water
en
here.
cada planta, en cada árbol.
But actually, we're
Pero el
not.
agua siempre hay. Bueno,
If
aquí en
you've ever
Honduras
heard of
tenemos agua por lo del pozo.
money, grabbing money out of thin air, that's what we're doing here. Because as our well began to dysfunction, we began to harvest the rain. So we're just reaching out into thin air and bringing down the money in the form of water, which is real practical. Because what is your money if you can't buy water, right?
El dinero no sirve a nada si uno no
become
puede
more
siquiera
costly, I
encontrar el
suppose.
agua. Ahora
We have
estamos
water
colectando
wars
la
as time
lluvia
goes on, but we're just taking it right out of the sky, right?
y
So
desde el cielo.
anyway, it's
Lo
readily available.
disponible
These
que es el agua.
simple
Uno no puede
items. I'm
estar
emphasizing
sin
the
agua.
water because everyone has to have it. Krishna is emphasizing that what you offer to me
Y
is
Krishna
not
dice,
so
lo que me
significant in terms of
ofreces
the material ingredient.
no es ello lo importante, que sea
But
agua
he
o
says,
flor.
Patram
Es un
pushpam
vehículo.
palam, patram
Él dice, patram
pushpam,
pushpam, palam toyam.
a leaf, a flower, a fruit, toyam, water. Patram pushpam palam tam, yo me bhaktya parachati. If that's offered to me with bhakti,
Si se me
yo me
ofrece
bhakti
esas
parachati,
cosas
tadaham
con
bhakti
devoción, yo
upaditam.
acepto la devoción.
Again, he says, if that's offered me with bhakti, then that item that's offered with bhakti, he says it twice.
Dice dos veces en el mismo
Ashnam, he
verso.
says, I'll eat that flower.
Yo
Flowers usually you
lo
don't
como,
eat,
dice
right?
literalmente lo como. Yo esta
I'll
flor,
eat that, right?
esta flor, esta hoja la
If you
como.
offer it. So the
Si me la
point is that
ofrecen, la como.
he's living on the
El
bhakti.
punto es que
Famous
él
example, it's very beautiful, I've cited it before,
sustenta
from
de
the
la
Mahabharata,
devoción.
when Krishna was invited by Duryodhana, who was adverse to his devotees, the Pandavas, to a royal assembly where he would be honored as a prince. A huge arrangement was made with trumpeters and drummers, and a huge feast was cooked, and Krishna entered the scene there, and he ignored the whole parade and everything that was set up for him, and just went to the house of Vidura. And Vidura wasn't from even a Kshatriya warrior, administrative family, but a laboring family, and he wasn't home. His wife was there, and Krishna said, "Feed me, I'm hungry." And she said, "Well, Duryodhana's made a huge feast for you, all these items cooked in ghee and so forth." He said, "Well, I don't eat that there. He doesn't like my devotees." She said, "Well, I don't have anything." He said, "Well, there's some bananas there." So he said, "Give me a banana." So he she peels the banana in her ecstasy that Krishna's in her house. She was peeling the bananas and giving Krishna the peels and throwing away the banana.
Krishna dijo, bueno,
and
dame
Krishna
los
was
bananos
eating
y los voy a comer.
the peels.
Y ella se confundió, les dio
This was, of course, the comment of
las
Nard.
cáscaras
When he
y se
didn't
quedó los
show up at the
bananos y
assembly, where did he
Krishna
go? He
se
said, "Well, he
comió
went
las
over there."
cáscaras.
So they followed him, Nard and Yustir, and they were amazed. Yustir was
Luego
amazed.
Narda y
Look at this.
Yudhishthira y Vidura
He's
vuelven
come
a
to
la
my, he's
casa
come
de Vidura.
to, or excuse me, not Yudhishthir, but Vidura. He's come to my house, and
No
Nard said,
Yudhishthira,
"That's
Vidura y
not the
Narda
most
Muni.
amazing part. He's eating the peels
Y
in
Vidura
your
dijo,
house."
qué asombroso
So
que Krishna,
she
con
had
todo lo que
devotion.
prepararon para él, se vino a
That
mi
doesn't mean we
casa. Y
should just,
Narada Muni dijo,
offer
lo más
whatever. It
asombroso
doesn't
es que
matter. If we
se está
actually,
comiendo las pieles
therefore, I've
de los
sometimes said,
bananos.
what is the best thing to offer to Krishna? In one sense, it's whatever
Por
you
eso se
like the
dice,
most, because you're going to be able to
¿qué
offer
es la
that with
cosa
the most
mejor
feeling,
para
right?
ofrecerle a
I really
Krishna? Y
like
de una forma
pizza.
la
Krishna doesn't
respuesta
eat
es
pizza.
lo que nos gusta más a nosotros.
So there are some
Porque
schools
lo
like
vamos a
this
hacer
in
con el
Jagannath where
corazón.
they won't offer
Hay
anything
devotos
to
que dicen,
Jagannath
no se le puede ofrecer
isn't
pizza
indigenous to
a
India,
Krishna porque
although
no es
his name is
indígena
Jagannath.
a la India, el templo
And
de
the universe
Jagannath,
is
lo que
bigger
eso
than India.
no tiene
Nath,
sentido porque el mismo nombre
Nath means
Jagannath quiere
Lord,
decir el
Jagat
amo
means
del
the world, the
universo,
universe, right?
no
So
de
it's
la
a rather
India. Entonces,
provincial
claro que le vamos
perspective.
a poder ofrecer pizza.
Now, we have to kind of bring these two together, if you will. And at least in the beginning stage, if we really like something, then that's in our heart. So we'll offer that with the most feeling.
Por lo menos en el
This is really
principio,
great. I
si
love this.
hay
I'll
algo
give it
que
to
nos gusta en
Krishna.
particular modo, es
So that
bueno
it's the
si se lo
love
ofrecemos a
that
Krishna,
you're giving to Krishna. Later on, you may find he likes to eat
porque
this
es
or that.
nuestro amor que le ofrecemos. Luego con el tiempo vamos a
those things
descubrir que a él le gusta esto más que el
and
otro,
live, as we say,
entonces vamos a
on the
ofrecerle lo
remnants.
que le gusta a él. Y
So
solo nos vamos a alimentar de lo que deje detrás.
Krishna's living on love. If there were not the love of God, if there were not bhakti,
si no fuera por el amor
would there be a Krishna?
Para Dios, si no fuera
Would there
por
be a
bhakti,
Narayan?
existiría un Krishna, existiría un
Brahman?
Narayan, o solo
Well, the
existiría
latter
Brahman.
is the answer, right?
Claro que la respuesta
Brahman
es
is everywhere.
El Brahman se encuentra en
All
todos
pervasive,
lados.
all knowing,
Lo pervade todo,
omniscient,
lo conoce
omnipresent,
todo, omnisciente, omnipresente.
So if you're omnipresent, if you're everywhere, how can you move?
Si uno existe en todos lados, ¿cómo se
So
puede
what
mover?
is that
¿Cómo
that's
puede bailar,
making
danzar?
Brahman
Entonces, ¿qué
move?
es
How is
lo
it even
que hace
possible?
de manera que el
If
Brahman
something is everywhere, how
se
can it
mueva?
move from one
O
place
sea,
to the
¿cómo
other?
es
It's
posible si
already
algo es
everywhere.
omnipresente
But the
ya se
power of
encuentra en
bhakti,
todos
which is
lados?
Krishna's
¿Cómo
own internal
va a
Shakti,
poder ir
of
de un
course,
lado al otro?
which is
Ese es el
non-different
poder
from
de
him,
bhakti,
one with him and different from him. That is what is
que es igual y
causing
diferente
ripples in a placid,
del Bhagavan.
peaceful pond you might come upon in the forest.
Si vemos, si
That's
nos
peaceful,
acercamos a la realidad del punto
but
de
if you
vista
throw
del
the
Bhakti, a
stones,
través
as
de
I
la
often
lupa del
say,
Bhakti,
in the
vemos que
pond, all in the same exact
ya
place,
no vemos el Brahman,
concentric
vemos a
ripples will
Bhagavan.
go out. So there'll be a disturbance, but it will be
El
beautiful and
Shakti y
harmonious.
el
So
Bhakti,
add to
siendo
the
Shakti
peace,
de Bhagavan,
love. This
hace
is
que
bhakti,
se
right?
creen olas en el
Bhakti
estanque.
makes Brahman move, even though he's
Bhakti es
everywhere.
lo que hace,
So
de
what is the
manera que
power
el Brahman
of
se
bhakti,
mueva.
right?
Entonces, ¿cuál
So
es el poder de
if
Bhakti?
you understand with your head something about
Si uno
bhakti,
entiende con su cabeza algo sobre el Bhakti,
who is Bhagwan? Who is Swayam
¿quién es
Bhagwan?
Bhagavan? ¿Quién es Swayam Bhagavan?
How to serve him and so forth.
¿Cómo servirle,
Then
etcétera?
to do so with heartfelt, to change your heart, which is preoccupied, as I say, in supporting and
Hacer
beating
así
for
con el
the
corazón,
false
cambiar tu propio
identity
corazón,
that we have, that we're trying to protect at every step, which is it's here today and it'll be gone tomorrow, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. Everybody wants eternality. That's
todo
what
el mundo
Columbus was
quiere la
looking for,
eternidad.
when he sailed the seas, the fountain of youth. Today is no
Se
different.
dice que los
It's no different. Now they're
conquistadores
thinking
estaban buscando la
they'll take
fuente de
consciousness and
la
upload it onto a
eterna
computer, and then the computer won't
juventud
break down as easily
en
as a
las
physical
Américas.
body, and there'll still be a lot. They're in effect saying we are consciousness, right? We agree with that, and it's different from the body. That's an
La
interesting
conciencia es
argument,
diferente
to
del
make
cuerpo.
in relation to artificial intelligence. That's a whole other discussion, an interesting one, but everybody wants to live forever. That's a fact.
Todo el mundo quiere vivir para
They want to live
siempre,
happily
es un
forever, of
hecho,
course.
y quieren
The
vivir
only reason they
felices
might not
por
want to
siempre,
live
para
forever is
siempre.
because life's not working well as
La
it
única
is. But I mean,
razón
in general,
porque uno no
human
quisiera
society
vivir
wants to
eternamente es porque
perpetuate
la vida
itself,
que
wants to
tiene,
live
así
on.
como la concibe,
And we do.
no es
We
digna
do
de
live
ser
on.
vivida.
This is the point of Vedanta. But we're not the body, which is something we have,
Pero no somos el cuerpo.
identified with, and as I say, our heart's beating for that.
Es algo con
So
que nos
let our heart beat
identificamos
for Krishna. But what does Krishna need?
y
Well,
el corazón
he lives on love,
late
right?
para,
It's said,
en términos de
put it
nuestra
another way,
identificación material, y tenemos que
Krishna
hacer
has
de
everything
forma que
except
nuestro
for
corazón
one thing.
lata para Krishna. Pero ¿qué es lo
What
que
is
necesita
that?
Krishna? Krishna lo
What is
tiene
the
todo,
one thing that
excepto
Krishna
una
is missing?
cosa. ¿Qué es eso que le falta a Krishna?
Is it our love?
But what Krishna is missing is his own heart,
Su propio
because it's been
corazón,
stolen by the gopis.
porque se lo robaron las gopis.
It's been stolen by Radha. So we can give him ours. He lost his heart. We'll give him ours. This is the idea.
Entonces nosotros le damos el nuestro.
So to give your heart to Bhagawan.
Esta es una
Now,
forma de
how does it
verlo.
mean
Dar
we'll
nuestro
relate to
corazón a
others?
Bhagavan.
You asked that, you know, kind of added that as an extension to your question. Well, when we give our heart to Krishna,
cuando le
by
damos nuestro
using our
corazón a
head
Krishna,
to
usando
soften
nuestra
our heart,
cabeza para
the head is
ensuavizar
important here too, because
nuestro
now
corazón,
we're
la
softening the
cabeza es
heart,
importante
but we're
también
also making the
porque,
heart wise. So I've coined the term
porque ahora
wise love.
estamos ensuavizando el
So
corazón,
there's
pero también lo
unwise
estamos
love,
haciendo más
right?
sabio. Por eso
Where you
que
can
hablo de
see
amor sabio.
those two are not gonna, that's not gonna work. Some objective person can see that relationship is not gonna work. Two people infatuated with one another.
Cuando dos
One's
personas
too old, one's too young.
que están en una relación material, uno demasiado viejo, uno demasiado joven,
number of other
hay un montón de
examples.
razones
So there's
porque
unwise love.
relaciones
I think we all have
materiales
experience of that.
son
We love things
expresiones de
that
amor
we
que
thought
no
he
es
was a prince
sabio.
charming, as I say sometimes, and he turned
Pensábamos
into
que era
a couch
nuestro
potato.
príncipe y se convirtió
Problem.
en una papa, en un sofá. O sea,
So,
uno que siempre está
people
mirando la televisión y no
constituted,
hace
materially
nada.
speaking, of psychic and physical material energy are constantly
La
transforming and
energía
changing
material de lo que está constituido
and
nuestro
so on.
cuerpo, nuestra psicología,
So,
está en
unwise love, to
en
try to
continua
love
mutación.
in
Entonces,
relation to
por
things
eso
that
que digo
don't
que es un
endure.
amor
And
no
of course,
sabio,
unwise
si
love is
este amor
also
tiene como objeto algo que no
that
permanece.
looks like love, but it's not. It looks like love because I love you, but materially speaking, if I love you, well, that means I don't love
Y también el amor material
her
es un amor que
or
parece
him.
amor, pero no lo
I
es,
love
porque
my
parece
kids,
amor,
but I don't
porque
live
te
with
amo a
kids in
ti,
Africa that are
pero al
starving.
mismo tiempo, amando a
I
una
might hear
persona
about it and think,
quiere
well, that's
decir que
too
no
bad.
amas a otra, o
Meanwhile,
no las
I'm
puedes
all
amar
worked up
a
because
todas.
my own child just didn't get, whatever, some first world problem. Right?
Mi propio hijo,
Some first
estoy
world
muy
problem.
agitado porque él no logró algo
If we live in the
de
first
nuestro
world,
primer mundo.
then
Pero si hay hijos de otras
we've heard about
personas
the
en
third
África
world,
muriéndose de hambre,
but
no nos afecta de la misma
that's too
forma.
bad. But
No es
meanwhile,
un
we've got
amor
our own
universal.
problems, which are like nothing, compared to not having food to eat, or having some savage dictator ruling
Hay países con dictadores.
In a corrupt way and so forth. So material love, if you look at it carefully, well, on one side it's love, but if you flip the coin, on the other side it's not love.
El amor
I love her,
material
but it means I don't love her.
se parece a amor, pero al mismo tiempo es falta de amor para otra persona y otra o otro, todo el
Bhakti
resto
Rasa
de la humanidad.
arises out of a more pervasive love that's universal. Therefore, vancha kalpatarubhyascha, kripa sindhubhya evacha.
Surge de algo
The Vaishnava is
más
said to be
universal.
an ocean,
Por eso se
sindhu,
dice
of
que
kripa, of
los
compassion.
Vaishnavas son
Now, compassion
un
is
océano de
universal love,
compasión.
right? It's not just provincial love, but universal love. And Bhakti Rasa arises on top of that, out of that. So there's a universal love is unbiased, and in
El amor
Bhakti there's a
universal
bias, but now the
no tiene
bias is
prejuicio,
on the
y
other
el Bhakti
side.
sí tiene
There's a
prejuicio,
bias
pero
on the lower
en
side that talks about where
prejuicio
one side of
del
the
otro
coin is
lado
love, flip
hay
it
un
over, the other
aspecto
side is hate.
inferior del prejuicio.
I love my country, I hate the other country. That's maybe the case.
Yo amo a mi
We rise
país,
above
pero
that
odio a otro
to
país.
universal love.
Nosotros
And
nos
then we come out on
levantamos
the other side, there's
arriba
a
de este
positive
nivel
bias, like I love
y luego
Ram
encontramos
a little more
otro
than Krishna.
prejuicio. Yo amo a Rama más que a
I
Krishna.
love Krishna more than Narayan, or as may be the case. Famous story of Hanuman was told by Krishna, or by Garuda was told by Krishna, go in Dwarka, go bring Hanuman
Krishna
here.
le dijo a
Garuda flew
Garuda,
over and said, Krishna wants to see you. Hop on.
Dile a Hanuman que lo quiero ver. Entonces Garuda voló hasta donde estaba Hanuman y le dijo, sube en mi espalda, te voy a llevar donde Krishna. Y Hanuman dijo, sí, bueno, no, en un minuto voy a ir. Y Garuda dijo, como que en un minuto, si Krishna te quiere.
And Krishna said, oh, that's okay. Go back and tell him Ram wants to see him.
Y Garuda volvió y le dijo, dice que va a venir en un minuto. Y luego Krishna dijo, está bien, dile, ahora vuelve y dile que Rama lo quiere ver.
And he just yelled out, Ram, and then leaped. And then Garuda said, where did the guy go?
Vuela hasta allá, le dice, Rama te quiere ver.
Weird. So Garuda's flying back.
Hanuman dijo, Ram, y
when he's flying back to
desapareció.
He runs into Hanuman coming back the other way. Ram.
Y va de vuelta a Dwaraka.
Faster than Garuda could fly.
Y mientras Garuda estaba volando hasta Dwaraka, ve a Hanuman volando de regreso desde Dwaraka, porque se había ido tan rápido al oír que Rama lo quería ver, que brincó más rápido de lo que podía haber hecho Garuda volando. Esta es la naturaleza del amor, del prejuicio que tiene Hanuman para Rama, desde Krishna.
And this bias can show
Entonces,
up
sí se
also,
puede
let's say,
encontrar
the guru can have a bias. The guru is supposed to be equal to everybody.
Prejuicio en la
Yes,
trascendencia.
equal to everybody,
También
giving everybody an
el
equal opportunity
puede
to
tener
take advantage of Krishna consciousness, but not everybody does to the
le
same
da
extent.
una ocasión
So
a
if
todo el
somebody
mundo de
really
forma
takes
igual
advantage, the
de
guru, she
aprovechar,
will be more biased towards
aventajarse
that
de la
person
conciencia de
who's
Krishna. Pero si hay un discípulo
taking
que toma
advantage.
ventaja más
Listen
que
to that
otro,
person.
el guru se
The guru
dedica más a este
may be in
discípulo.
a position to even to take advice from one
Y
of
el
his own
guru hasta se
disciples.
pone en la posición
He's invested
de
so much in that
aceptar
disciple.
consejo de su
Invested so much in that
discípulo.
disciple
Invirtió
that now he
tanto en
wants to
este
draw on
discípulo
that.
que ahora quiere
I've
sacar
invested
desde
so much in you. You've applied
discípulo.
yourself
Invertí
accordingly.
tanto
You have
en ti,
insights.
te
Give me
aplicaste
those
tanto
insights.
en
What are your
Bhakti,
insights about this particular issue?
te llegaron
We
realizaciones.
find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking the advice of Swarup
Comparte
Damodar.
esas
When Raghunath
realizaciones.
Das Goswami
Mahaprabhu
wanted to have the darshan
estaba
of
con
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
Swarup
hear
Damodar.
instructions from him, Mahaprabhu said, you should hear
Cuando
from
Raghunath Das
Swarup
Goswami quería
Damodar.
asociación de Mahaprabhu,
So again he asked,
Mahaprabhu le
said, again you should hear
dijo,
from Swarup Damodar.
toma
Put him on
asociación de
Swarup
Swarup
Damodar.
Damodar, ponte a escuchar desde
Again
Swarup
he
Damodar,
asked.
de
Then he
Swarup
said, all right,
Damodar.
bring him here.
Y la tercera
He
vez,
said, you think that I
Raghunath
gave you
Das
something
Goswami
less by putting you under the care of Swarup Damodar? You
pidió
don't
darshan de
understand.
Mahaprabhu y Mahaprabhu dijo, bueno,
He knows
déjalo
more than
entrar.
me.
Mahaprabhu dijo, no
I'm trying to
entiendes,
understand Radha
él sabe
Bhav.
más que yo estoy tratando de entender
He
a
didn't
Radha
say this out
Bhava.
loud. This is what he meant. I'm
Esto no lo
Krishna
dijo en
here trying
palabras,
to
es lo que
understand
pensó, lo que
Radha
quería
Bhav,
decir.
and
Yo soy
he's
Krishna
Lalita
tratando
Saki.
de entender Radha Bhava
He understands
y él
Radha
es
Bhav.
Lalita Saki.
He's one of my tutors here.
Él
I've
entiende
put you under
esto más
him
que yo
because
y
he
yo te
knows more
pongo
than me.
bajo la
I'm not cheating
protección,
you.
la guía de Swarup Damodar,
So
porque él
Gurudev
conoce
may
más que
have
yo, no te estoy
persons,
engañando.
this person you can rely on.
Entonces el
I
Guru dice,
even asked his advice on a
confíen en este
particular topic
discípulo mío.
or issue where
Yo
I've asked him
mismo
to investigate, to explore
lo
an
hago,
area of service or an area of Siddhanta and
que
so on
sea
and so
una área
forth.
del seva, del
So there can be
Siddhanta.
bias on the part
Entonces
of
sí puede haber
the guru, which
prejuicio de
is
la
also
parte del
beautiful.
Guru,
If we understand
que
it properly,
también
we
es
don't
bonita
understand it, of
si la
course,
vemos de
then
forma
we
apropiada. Si no la
we have a
entendemos,
very Kanishta-adhikari understanding.
tenemos una
Kanishta-adhikari
comprensión
understanding is
de
what?
Kanishta
That
Adhikari.
the
El
verse is more
Kanishta
important than
Adhikari
the purport.
dice que el verso es
No,
más importante
the
que el
Madhyamadhikari
comentario. No,
understanding
el Madhyama
is
Adhikari
that
entiende
the
que
purport is more
el
important
comentario es
than
más
the verse.
importante que el verso.
I used to meet these people and try to sell them a Bhagavad Gita or a Bhagavatam. And they say, what's with the commentary? I just want the verses. Well, the commentary is more important because the verses are Krishna speaking, and the commentary is the devotee who actually
Krishna
heard
hablando,
them,
pero
felt
los
them,
comentarios
and
son los
responding to
devotos
them, and
que
bringing
hablan,
out
que
the
escuchan los
meanings.
versos
Prabhupada called it his
y
emotional
les
ecstasies.
ocasiona tantas emociones que las ponen en el comentario.
This is the
Entonces,
more advanced
el
understanding.
comentario, uno saca más
Krishna
del
says those who
comentario
say
que
that
del
they're my
verso.
devotee, they're
Krishna
not my
dice, los que
devotee.
son mis devotos no son
Those who
mis
say that they're
devotos.
devotees of my
Los que dicen que
devotees,
son devotos
they're
de
my
mis devotos
devotees.
son mis devotos.
Krishna himself, we call it Vaishnavism.
Por eso
right?
que se dice
It means
Vaishnavismo,
Vaishnavas are those who
no
worship
Vishnuismo.
Vishnu, but we
Los
worship the
Vaishnavas
Vaishnavas.
son los que
Krishna's
adoran a
taught us this
Vishnu y nosotros
himself
adoramos
personally.
a los
How many
Vaishnavas.
examples are there of Krishna?
¿Cuántos ejemplos hay de Krishna?
Singling out his devotees and
glorificando a sus
the
devotos
worship of them, regard for them,
arriba de los demás.
regard for the guru. I mean, why do we pay obeisances to the deity of Krishna? Because the Vaishnava told us this is Krishna. We wouldn't know how
¿Por qué
to
nos
act or who it
postramos
was or
ante
what, right?
la deidad de
He
Krishna?
taught
Porque un
us
devoto
this.
nos dijo,
So
esto
where
es
is
Krishna,
Krishna?
esto es Dios. Entonces, ¿dónde
In
se
the heart
encuentra Krishna?
of the Vaishnava.
En el corazón del Vaishnava.
So we don't want a sentimental or Kanishtadikari
No queremos
even understanding
una
of what
comprensión
it means to have a
sentimental
soft
de
heart,
Kanishtadikari,
right?
de lo que quiere decir tener un
But we need to make
corazón
our heart
suave.
wise
Tenemos
also
que hacer nuestro
hearing the
corazón
teachings
sabio
and so
a
forth, paying
través
attention, looking at
las
the
enseñanzas que
example,
escuchamos,
precedences historically
los
in the
antecedentes, la
Sampradaya and
historia,
so on and so forth. And then gathering from that inspiration to apply ourselves with our hearts in Krishna consciousness. And, we'll be compassionate towards all people, all beings for that matter. But that doesn't mean we're going to treat all beings the same. All beings are in different situations.
tenemos que amar a todos los seres vivos, pero no quiere decir que los vamos a tratar a
In
todos de
some
forma
instance,
igual.
with regard to the guru and the disciples, it may be to chastise one and praise another.
En el caso del guru y del
Prabhupada was
discípulo,
concerned
el
not
mismo
with
guru
being
le va
chastised,
a castigar,
nor with being praised,
a
but
castigar a un
with the
discípulo y a
guru
glorificar a
showing
otro.
indifference,
Y
which means
Prabhupada lo que
he's
le
given
importaba
up.
a él no era que el
I
guru
can't
le
correct him.
regañara, sino que lo
She's
que le
just like,
preocupaba
won't
a él
listen. Got
es
her
que
own
cuando el guru se
ideas,
pone
only.
indiferente, cuando el
Her
guru
own
dice,
ideas
bueno,
of how she
no
thinks, he
escucha,
thinks it should
tiene
be.
sus ideas sobre lo que,
I've explained
como
it
las
again and
cosas tienen
again,
que decir, se lo
but
expliqué una
can't
y
listen.
otra
What can I
vez,
do?
pero no escucha,
Something
¿qué
like
puede
that.
hacer?
You don't want that indifference.
Uno
Prabhupada
no
was very
quiere esa
pleased
indiferencia
when
del
Bhakti
guru.
Siddhanta singled him out
Cuando una
in
vez
an assembly and
Bhaktisiddhanta le
chastised him.
regañó a Prabhupada,
He was sitting and speaking, and
él
another devotee was
estaba
talking to Prabhupada,
escuchando
tapping on
y
the
un
shoulder.
devoto le
And
estaba
Prabhupada
hablando en el
singled out,
oído,
or Bhakti
ni
Siddhanta
siquiera era
Prabhupada
él,
singled
sino que le
out
estaban hablando
my
en el oído de
Prabhupada and said,
Prabhupada.
so,
Y Siddhanta
you
Saraswati
think
dijo,
you're not
¿y
paying
qué?
attention? He was
¿Piensas
paying
que
attention. The other guy was
no
distracting him.
tienes que
But Prabhupada said, so
hacerme
you think
caso?
you can sit here?
Pero Prabhupada sí le estaba escuchando, era el otro devoto que lo
Or do
estaba
you,
distrayendo.
or do you think you should be listening? Prabhupada was so pleased. Gurudev took the time out in the
Y
whole
Prabhupada
assembly
estaba
to
tan
pay attention to
complacido que mi
me
guru paró
and correct me,
la clase
even when
para
I wasn't really
corregirme
doing
a
anything
mí,
wrong. He didn't say, Prabhupada Bhakti
aunque
Siddhanta,
ni
look,
siquiera era mi
I
culpa.
didn't do anything
Prabhupada
wrong
no le
here. The
dijo,
other guy
oye,
was talking
es
to
que yo
me
no estaba
and
haciendo
trying to
nada mal,
distract me.
es el otro
I
devoto
want
que me
to,
estaba
I didn't do
distrayendo.
anything
Yo no tengo
wrong.
culpa, yo no tengo
Everybody,
culpa.
Gurudev made a mistake. I know
Todo el
it's
mundo
only a relative
escuchen, el
thing,
guru
but he
hizo
made a mistake. And
una falta.
no,
Yo sé que es
he
todo
didn't do
relativo,
that.
pero miren, el guru hizo una
And he
falta,
didn't
no
make a
hizo nada
mistake.
de
He knew
eso.
what he was doing.
Y Prabhupada
He was
ni siquiera tenía
emphasizing,
la
he was
culpa.
giving special grace to Prabhupada by chastising
Pero
him.
Prabhupada le
Right?
estaba dando una gracia particular
So we have to have
a su discípulo
a
Prabhupada.
dynamic understanding. Take the
Y
example of humility.
de que
Bhaktisiddhanta once gave a beautiful talk, more humble than a blade of grass. He said, I'm sitting here on a big seat. It was the day of his Vyasa Puja, celebrating the day of his appearance in the world. So many disciples, big praises and everything. Said, how will we harmonize this? Here I'm taking all this praise sitting on a big seat, the lion's seat, the throne is
Estoy aquí sentado arriba de todo el mundo en ese
Singha means
Singhasana.
lion. He's sitting on the
Singhasana
lion's
el
seat,
asiento
the
de los
throne.
leones.
Lions tend to be one of the symbols of royalty, right?
El león es un símbolo de regalidad, no de humildad.
And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Trinadapi Sunichena. You should be more humble than a blade of grass. So how will we understand? So he gave a nice lecture explaining the dynamic nature of humility. So humility before Bhagwan, before Guru. If I'm before the Guru, I'm humble. That may take the shape of standing up like a lion and roaring at someone who's criticizing or abusing or offending Krishna or offending the Guru,
se puede
offending the devotee.
regañándole a otra
I remember
persona.
once in the temple,
Una vez,
one of the ISKCON temples,
en un templo de la ISKCON,
was there for some reason, and they had a meeting, but there were a number of Indians at the time, ethnic Indians,
hindúes de la India,
members of the community,
que eran miembros de la
and
comunidad.
they wanted to take over the administration of the
y
temple,
querían
they
administrar el templo,
So I started,
y yo empecé a
preaching,
castigarles, a
and
decirles, a
Swamiji getting angry,
predicarles.
not good. Something
Y
getting angry.
los indios me
So,
dijeron,
Hanuman got angry
Swami se
too.
está enojando. No,
Prabhupada
es
used to
bueno
give
que
that
un
example.
Swami
Hanuman
se
got
enoje.
angry also. For
Y yo
what
le
though,
dije,
right?
Hanuman también se enojó y le echó
Therefore, it's
fuego a
like
todo Lanka.
It's
Por eso se
difficult to
dice,
understand
es
the heart of
difícil
a Vaishnava.
entender el
He
corazón
or
de un
she may
Vaishnava,
act in ways that appear
porque él o ella
material,
se puede comportar de una forma que
because
parecen materiales,
there's a similarity, for
porque hay
example, between Krishna Lila and human
similitudes.
life, but they're very different, right?
La vida
So
de
there's a
Krishna Lila,
similarity. All
nuestra
the
vida,
emotions
hay cosas
that we
similares, pero
have
son bien
also
diferentes.
have their trans-psychological application. Once we've transcended the mind and material emotions, well, spiritual emotions arise, spiritual anger, spiritual even jealousy,
También el aspecto
spiritual
trascendente. Cuando uno trasciende las emociones materiales,
love
luego en su corazón tiene
fraternal
rabia
nature, paternal
material,
nature, and so on
amor
and so forth. These are
material,
trans-psychological,
servitud
right?
material, que son transpsicológicas,
So,
más allá de la psicología humana.
So those are some thoughts. I hope that answers your question.
Estos son unos pensamientos que espero que te
Thank you.
contestaron.
Yeah, really helps my understanding. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, so the next question is from Raj Haridas from South America. It goes like this. If I understand correctly, a Vaishnav Uttam Adhikari sees everyone in relation to Krishna and does not think in terms of good and bad, inferior and superior. On the other hand, Madhyam is characterized by appropriate discrimination. I understand that the perspective of Uttam, in consideration of its superlative position, should be a more objective truth than that of the Madhyam. My question is, if the truth of Uttam is more objective than that of the Madhyam, should this not be the theoretical truth that the Kanishta takes into consideration when seeing the world and acting with it, or acting in it, or should he take into consideration the truth of the Madhyam, which, although less objective, is closer to the Kanishta?
Porque se dice que el Kanishta debería escuchar al Madhyam Adhikari porque es el que predica.
Sham, you need to repeat that in Spanish?
No, thanks, I'm fine. I was doing it simultaneously.
Okay. So what do you mean is by objective is that the
Lo que quiero decir con objetivo es que la visión del Uttam Adhikari es real,
everything is
objetiva.
moving according to
Se
the will
refiere,
of Krishna.
todo se
Whereas
mueve
the Madhyam Adhikari
en relación al deseo de
not
Krishna.
objectively
Mientras
real.
la visión del Madhyam Adhikari no es real de forma objetiva.
That's relative.
Es una perspectiva
I don't think
subjetiva y
that that's
relativa.
necessarily the right way to think about it. I think both are objectively
Yo no lo diría de la forma que lo dijiste tú. Para mí, todas las dos visiones son verdaderas y objetivas.
But they're just different angles from which to look at the whatever there is to look at. The world.
Pero hay diferentes maneras de mirar a lo que hay que mirar, a lo que se puede mirar al mundo.
With regard to the
con respecto
Kanishta Adhikari, what example Kanishta Adhikari should follow, what perspective he or she should embrace.
El ejemplo que un Kanishta Adhikari debería
it's both.
seguir
Also, it's both.
Ambos. Tanto el ejemplo de Madhyama como el de Uttama.
Perspective should be embraced theoretically, but it cannot
teóricamente.
be applied because it's a realization, it's a vision.
Pero no se pueden aplicar porque es un hecho de realización. El Kanishta Adhikari no puede.
An angle of vision, right?
Si no tiene la realización, la visión del Uttama
Adhikari,
¿cómo va a aplicarlo? Pero la perspectiva del Madhyama Adhikari es una que si el Kanishta la adopta y se enfoca en esta visión que da el Madhyama Adhikari,
himself or herself accordingly, and only by that application of the Madhyama Adhikari's perspective can one come to the Uttama Adhikari's perspective. So
Va a ser más fácil
let me
que
give you an
Kanishka
example.
suba a la perspectiva del Madhyamadikari.
Which Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in
Les voy a dar
Chaitanya
un ejemplo.
Charitamrita
¿Qué
should
lila de
we
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
embrace
deberíamos
more wholly? Should it
adoptar y
be
aceptar?
the Adi Leela?
¿El Adi Lila,
Should it be the Anti Leela?
el Antya Lila
Or should it be the Madhya Leela?
o el Madhya
Now,
Lila?
the Anti Leela and the Adi Leela, they're the same.
El Adi Lila y el
very
Antya Lila, el Antya
In
Lila
the Adi Leela,
son la
Chaitanya
misma cosa.
Mahaprabhu is
El Adi Lila
up to 24 years old.
hasta los
In the Anti Leela, he's
24
up to
años de edad.
48. In the Adi Leela, he's moving amongst his devotees in Navadvip. He's known as Vishwambar, Nimai Pandit.
En el
He
Adi
has an
Lila,
intimate
en
relationship. He's
Navadvip
known as
se le
Sachinandana.
conoce como Vishwambar, a
The
Sachinandan,
love, the bliss of Sachi.
amigos, y
These are
él es un profesor y se le conoce
Nimai,
como
Sachinandan,
Animai,
intimate
Sachinandan,
names.
Vishwambar, son nombres
It's a
íntimos.
happy village
Es
life,
una
performing
aldea
Sankirtan
feliz
and so
donde
forth.
hacen
In the
Sankirtan
Anti
todos
Leela,
los
he's a
días.
sannyasi.
En el Antya
He's
Lila es un
distanced from his other
sannyasi
devotees. He's
distante de
become
los
internal.
devotos,
They look very
se
different,
hace más y
but
más
the
interior,
Anti Leela
se
is a
parecen muy
way in which
diferentes.
the visible form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
La
is the
forma
way in which the
visible de
sadhaka
Chaitanya
deha
Mahaprabhu
starts to show itself in the Anti Leela, incapable of relating to the world.
ahí se ve
Entering
más
into the
el
Anti Leela
sadhaka deha
perspective.
de Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
There's no discrimination there, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he would enter into Anti Leela perspective,
No hay
or the
discriminación ahí. Cuando
Uttamadikari
Chaitanya
perspective,
Mahaprabhu
then what was his
entró al Antya
discrimination,
Lila,
right? He heard a woman singing, he ran after the woman.
no había
He
discriminación.
was
Si
in
había
Madhyamadikari
una
perspective, he
mujer
wouldn't run after a woman as a
cantando,
sannyasi.
él corría hasta esta
So,
persona cantando el santo nombre
of
sin
course, that happened
discriminación.
during his
En
Madhya
cuanto
Leela, but
Madhyamadikari,
there are
Mahaprabhu
flashes in
nunca
which
se
he enters
acercaría a
into
una mujer.
the Uttamadikari perspective. But overall, the Anti Leela showcases the Uttamadikari perspective.
Pero en general, la
I mean, he's
el
incapable of
Antya
functioning in
Lila
relation to
nos hace ver la
the
perspectiva del
world.
Uttamadikari.
And internally, while it looks different
Internamente,
from the
aunque parezca diferente de la
internally,
Lila,
what's happening is
internamente
he's entering
lo que pasa
into
es que
Vrindavan, the Vrindavan Leela, and the Vrindavan Leela, the
el
Braj
sannyasi
Leela,
Chaitanya
is
Mahaprabhu
not
está
different
entrando en el Lila de
than
Vrindavan.
Navadvip. So
Y el
our
Lila de
goal
Vrindavan no
is
es diferente
Navadvip,
del Lila de
that is
Navadvip.
Shvetadvip, that is the power of Shvetadvip,
Se
the
dice
inner
Shvetadvip,
side of the rectangle that surrounds the circle of Gokul in Golok.
es un
There's an inner,
rectángulo que
inside of that circle
circunda
and an
el
outside of that
círculo
circle, all inside the square
Gokula
of
dentro de
Shvetadvip.
Goloka.
And the power of Shvetadvip is
Y para
inside the circle of
Shvetadvip
Gokul, and that is where
está
you find
dentro del círculo
Navadvip
de
Dham,
Gokula.
also
Ahí es donde
non-different
se
from
encuentra
Vrindavan. Is
Navadvip
Astakam
Dhama, que no es
to
diferente de
Navadvip.
Vrindavan.
Rupa
Hay un
Goswami makes the
ashtaka
point. Some people say that Navadvip is
donde se dice que
Vaikuntha
algunos
in the
dicen que
Paravyam. Some say it's
Navadvip
Golok, but those who know the Tattva
no
say
se
it's
encuentra en el
Vrindavan.
Paravyoma. Algunos dicen que es
So
Goloka,
the
pero los
Anti
que lo
Leela
saben
point
dicen
is,
que es
and the Adi Leela,
Vrindavan.
they're the same in the sense in which I'm talking about. Whereas the Madhya Leela, which is the main part section of the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, the greater balance, is all teaching how to enter into the courtyard of Srivas, in Rasa Kirtan and experience Vrindavan, how to enter into the Anti Leela, same idea, right?
El Lila de
So we're to focus our attention on the Madhya
Navadvip.
Leela, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conducted himself there,
Nosotros nos
how he
enfocamos
would exercise some
en el Madhya Lila, cómo se
discrimination and so forth.
comportaba Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
So this is the way.
cuando
We should focus
tenía
on the way
discriminación, cuando hacía cosas
and
que
the
no podía
goal,
hacer.
but not the goal as the way. The goal is not the way.
Tenemos que
The
tener
goal and the way are the
a la
same
meta, el
in one
destino
sense.
en nuestra
Like a
cabeza,
mango
pero
is the
el
same
destino
if it's
no
green
es
or
el
if
medio.
it's ripe. There's a mango in each case, but also a green mango and a
Un mango es un mango que esté verde, que esté pequeñito, que esté maduro y grande.
Taste, right? A green
Pero
mango you can take, you can put
solo
some
se puede
salt
comer
on
cuando
it,
es
taste
maduro.
it. You can
Un
make a
mango
chutney out of it,
verde
but
se puede comer
but
con
ripe
sal,
mangoes,
se puede hacer
you're not going
chutney,
to put salt on
pero
that, right?
un mango maduro
So-
es perfecto así como está, no
So
le
the
vamos a
madhyam,
poder a echar
so
sal.
I want to say madhyam, let's say, sadhana bhakti for that matter, bhava bhakti and prem bhakti, they're all the same. They're all bhakti. Still, they are different stages of
Entonces,
development.
sadhana
So we
bhakti,
focus
bhava
on the
bhakti, prema
goal
bhakti son todo
of
bhakti, pero
the
diferentes estadios.
Uttamadhikari, but
La meta, el destino del
but also,
Uttamadhikari.
and more so on the way. We don't look at the goal as the way. So there's a
Es
difference
la
between the two.
nuestra también, es
So the
nuestra meta,
Madhyamadhikari
pero no
perspective is
vemos
something
al
that
estilo de vida
the
del Uttamadhikari
Kanishta
como nuestro
can
medio para llegar a esta meta.
identify with. The Kanishta Adhikari, is full of discrimination, or often the other side is probably lacks discrimination, proper discrimination.
El
In
Madhyamadhikari
relation
está
to
lleno
Bhakti,
de
for example, the
discriminación
Kanishta Adhikari would say,
y el
why can't we all
Kanishta
just love
Adhikari
one another?
no tiene discriminación.
Well, there are
Kanishta
good
Adhikari
reasons
dice,
why
¿por
we
qué no
can't?
nos podemos amar
Because
uno con el
everybody
otro?
is unfortunately not giving themselves to the center
Bueno, hay
fully, and that
razones,
has to be
porque no
pointed
todo el
out
mundo se está
and
entregando
corrected
enteramente al
and so
centro.
forth.
Y hay que
Oh no, the correction. Why are you being
hablar
like
de
that?
eso.
I mean,
El Kanishta Adhikari dice, no, pero ¿por qué
so they'll
corregir?
lack discrimination in a way that an
Entonces, la
Uttamadhikari
falta de
lacks
discriminación del
discrimination, but the
Kanishta
latter,
Adhikari
Uttamadhikari's
es
lack of
diferente de la
discrimination
falta de discriminación del
is
Uttamadhikari. El
a
Uttamadhikari
transcendental reality, whereas for
es
the Kanishta
debido a
Adhikari,
la trascendencia, a la realidad
that
trascendente.
lack of
Total.
discrimination is a problem.
Mientras la
The
falta de
Madhyamadhikari is
discriminación del Kanishta
discriminating. That
Adhikari es
means
un
here
problema.
what
La
we
del
mean by discriminating
Uttamadhikari
is using one's discretion based on scripture. That means
Por eso que
intellect.
digo,
Using the intellect.
hablando de la
The
pregunta
Kanishta is
de
not
antes,
using his or her
el
intellect in
Madhyamadhikari
bhakti,
usa su
going through the
discreción, su
motions,
intelecto
but not applying the intellect. That's a challenge. It's easier to get your
entender y
body
predicar
going,
estas cosas.
to do
El
this, but
Kanishta
then to get your
Adhikari
head
no
and your
usa su
intellect
intelecto.
into it, and not be taken away by the intellect. See, this is what sadhana is about: how to apply the intellect in such a way that the intellect doesn't run off with you and you leave Krishna consciousness, but apply the head, as I say, to
Por
soften
eso
the
digo,
heart.
uno no
Right?
tiene que usar la cabeza de forma tal que
And
su
so
propio
there's a
intelecto
good
lo va a
side
alejar de la
to
conciencia de
discrimination
Krishna, sino
also.
para suavizar
Right?
el corazón.
Discrimination
Hay
has
un
a
lado
pejorative,
positivo de la discriminación.
connotation. Discriminate between one type of person and
Tiene
another
normalmente un
inappropriately.
sentido negativo, discriminar
But there's a
a
better
favor de
side
uno y en contra de otra persona, otro
of
grupo.
discrimination that
Pero
is
también hay
important,
una
right?
forma positiva de discriminación
So we
que es
can apply
importante.
ourselves
Y podemos
compassionately, for example, as I
aplicarnos
said earlier, appropriately to
de
the
forma
circumstance,
compasiva
which in one case
según la
may mean to
circunstancia,
embrace somebody, in another case may mean to chastise
que
somebody.
en una
So the
instancia hacen
Kanishta
que
Adhikari really has to
abracemos a
focus
alguien
on the
y en otra
perspective
instancia
of the
hace que
Madhyamadhikari.
corrijamos a alguien.
And that perspective takes into consideration things that the Uttamadhikari's perspective doesn't take into consideration.
Y también hay cosas diferentes que
The
uno
reality,
toma en
is it
consideración
really
y que el
true
otro no
that
toma
there
en
are some
consideración.
conditioned souls?
Por ejemplo,
Yeah, it's really true. That's
es
objectively fact.
verdaderamente verdadero que hay
That's why I said earlier, I don't
almas
think the
acondicionadas.
Madhyamadhikari's
Sí,
perspective is not an objective truth. It is an
entonces,
objective truth.
por
Is
eso
it all
digo,
moving
no es
according to Krishna's will?
porque dices que
Yeah,
el
that's also
Madhyamadhikari no
true. In
predica
another sense, from the
una verdad objetiva,
Uttamadhikari's
sí es
perspective,
objetiva.
so there is no problem.
Pero
So there
también el Uttamadhikari
are
tiene
different
razón cuando
ways
dice
of
que no hay problemas, no hay ningún
looking at it.
problema.
But the way that would be most helpful to us
Pero la manera que
is
nos
the
ayuda más
Kanishta,
es la
is the
visión del
Madhyamadhikari's
Madhyamadhikari, porque
perspective,
nosotros somos
without
Kanishta
losing sight at the same time of the goal, right?
El Kanishta tiene que escuchar
So I
al
hope that
Madhyama
helps.
con los ojos fijos en la meta del Uttama.
If there's a follow-up, of course, on any of the questions, then
Si
anyone
hay
can
más
please
preguntas,
feel free to voice that corrections or comments, concerns.
Pretty much, I had a follow-up thought, kind of a question also. So it seems like there's a clear connection between the two questions about the, I mean, you were making that point too about the softening of the heart, and then this idea that maybe we should, as Kanishtas, like follow the Uttamadhikaris. And I see that so much when there's any kind of controversy, that Kanishta devotees start saying, devotees don't criticize anybody, and they're trying to superimpose this like Uttamadhikari view on themselves, and it so much goes well with this like secular Western idea of no discrimination. And so anyway, it seems like they're like so closely connected like that. Just a small thought.
Yeah, and very much so. Yeah, you know, the Uttamadhikari perspective is not like the politically correct.
La perspectiva dell'Uttamadhikari no es una perspectiva politicamente correcta.
Even how to act, let's say how to be psychologically balanced. What does it mean? Well, depends who you're talking to. If you're talking to some conservative kind of nut like Jordan Peterson, well, it'll be like,
depende del balance psicológico. Si uno habla con un loco como Jordan Peterson, para él tener un balance psicológico quiere decir otra cosa según él, y para otra persona es otra cosa. O sea, es todo muy relativo.
Put that forward, that idea of that, and misconstrue that to be what the Uttamadhikari's perspective is, whether it be psychological or sociological, and so forth. There may be semblance of that, and so forth, but we have to be careful when taking psychological, sociological concerns,
hay que tener cuidado cuando se habla de estas consideraciones sociológicas y psicológicas,
on what Krishna consciousness
tener cuidado que no
reality is. There may be a parallel between them, but they're going to be part at the same time
de lo que
at
es
certain
la conciencia
points.
de Krishna.
So someone was asking me something about
un día uno me estaba preguntando sobre
what was that term, spiritual bypassing. I mean, that's a concept that came up from a Buddhist author and practitioner
es un concepto
back in the
budista
80s. And he makes a good point there that you can't apply yourself to spiritual truths apparently as a way of avoiding
a verdades
some
espirituales
psychological or emotional issue that you have to deal with. I mean, you can't take sannyas to do away with lust.
Por ejemplo,
sannyas is a result of overcoming
uno no
lust.
puede tomar sannyas para deshacerse de la lujuria. El sannyas es el resultado del haber trascendido la lujuria.
What would be called psychological balance, which is
Entonces,
again a relative
uno
thing.
no puede tomar lo que es el balance psicológico, el equilibrio psicológico,
some
que como les dije,
it.
es algo muy
Culturally speaking, what
relativo.
it means to be psychologically balanced 500 years ago,
Lo que era
1,000
ser
years ago, may be
equilibrado
different.
psicológicamente hace 500 años en Europa no es la misma cosa que ahora en la India, o sea,
everything isn't always just progress necessarily either. So you can't take the psychological balance in and of itself to constitute what Krishna consciousness is. That would be an error. So anyway, I'm kind of going off track a little bit, but it's interesting subject. Yeah, I mean, we have to feel, we have to deal with our emotional realities. So we have to acknowledge that we received from our
trabajar con nuestra realidad emocional.
Help us pass through it. We can't ignore it.
No podemos
we can't
ignorarla.
Embrace a universal truth when it's not our adhikar. I mean, the whole thing of
pero no podemos abrazar una
spiritual bypassing. It's not like new, something that's been
universal,
baked into Gaudiya Vaishnavism from its very inception. It's all about adhikar. People should function according to their adhikar. If they function outside of their, beyond their adhikar, then they're doing spiritual, bypassing. So we have to understand the adhikar of someone, and they have to be engaged accordingly. So we have to recognize this is their emotional reality as far as they can go. It's not a bad thing, but they have to also understand this is as far as I can go right now. This is where I'm at right now. And not impose where they're at a lower level on someone else on a higher level. So,
First, can I ask a quick question about that?
No puede actuar
So
a
some
nivel de otra
devotees
persona.
then say that, well, for
Guru Nisha
example,
dice,
Prabhupada was
hay otros
kind of like
devotos que
demanding
dicen
spiritual
que Prabhupada,
bypassing of
por
his
ejemplo,
disciples because he took them on this way higher level than their actual
demandaba
natural adhikar was. So how would you respond to that?
esto de sus
Well, in
discípulos,
different ways, I
porque los
suppose.
sacó de un estilo de vida y les
You know, you
impuso
can
el
say what
estilo
you
de
want
vida de un
about
Madhikari. Gumarsh dice, bueno, cada uno puede
spiritual
decir,
bypassing or
puede
adhikar.
decir lo que quiera
It
sobre
has
lo
its
que es el
place.
Adhikar.
That's true. But in the Bhagavatam itself, Narada
Puede
told
que
Vyas,
tengan
Tyaktva
razón,
Swadharmam Charanam Bhujam Hare.
pero el Bhagavatam dice,
This is very characteristic of Narada if you study him throughout the Bhagavatam. He said, what
Narada
benefits
dice lo que
someone
es
from going
muy
slow?
típico de su carácter. ¿Qué
Basically,
beneficio
this is what he
saca
said.
uno
What
de
can you
ir
get from
despacio?
Gyan or Nishkam Karma or Nishkam Karma?
¿Qué vas a
Even,
sacar
or
del
Gyan,
Yama o
you
del
get
Nishkama
nothing. These are
Karma?
all functions under the
Estas
influence of the
son
modes of nature,
funciones bajo la
passion,
influencia
and
de los gunas,
and
algunas.
goodness. Whereas Bhakti is Nishkam. And
Mientras
whatever
el
you gain in
Bhakti
Bhakti
es
is
Nishkama, y
eternal.
lo
So
que
he's
uno
looking at it from a
logra
broader
de
perspective,
Bhakti
right?
es eterno. Entonces,
He says you
uno
may
tiene
go
una
this far
perspectiva
and you
más
may,
ancha.
being immature,
Uno puede
not be able to continue. But how far you've gone by Bhakti, that's not going to go away.
ser
So he's looking at
inmaturo
it from this like broader
y se
perspective,
encuentra a tener
right?
que parar en su camino, pero en el Bhakti, ahí donde
Saying
te
you're an
pares,
eternal soul, you're now in this body,
o sea, él
and now
está
you get this
teniendo
chance for
una
Bhakti,
perspectiva
and he's saying,
universal.
go for it.
Narada Muni
And as
dice,
far as you get and the impressions that you get and so
adopten el
forth,
Bhakti.
even though you can't
Lo
go
lejos
beyond
que van
that,
a
and it
ir
becomes
cuando se
problematic on
paran en
another
el sendero del
level,
Bhakti,
that gain is permanent.
va a ser mucho mejor
So
de que si
there
se,
can be an emphasis like that. Now,
de
Prabhupada
que
was
si se
coming,
pararan
he was
en
doing
cualquier
something
otro
extraordinary.
sendero.
I mean, it's extraordinary in Gaudiya
Prabhupada estaba
Vaishnava history.
haciendo
There are other
algo
extraordinary things
extraordinario
in Gaudiya Vaishnava history, no doubt, but this is one of them.
dentro del
And we are
Vaishnavismo
all,
Gaudiya.
in the
Claro
midst
que
of
hay
it,
otras
right?
cosas
We've come out of it,
extraordinarias,
right?
pero esta es una de ellas, lo
And
que dice Prabhupada. Nosotros
Prabhupada would
estamos
say
en el
things
medio
like,
de todo esto.
any publicity is good
Prabhupada
publicity.
decía, cualquier publicidad es buena
Now,
publicidad.
you might think, that sounds terrible, Prabhupada, but
Y uno
I
pensaría, pero eso
liken the
es
times that
terrible.
we were in, myself and my
Los
godbrothers
tiempos en que estamos
and dear
nosotros con los
God
hermanos
sisters and so forth,
espirituales y
and the
hermanas,
things that we did to
las
try
cosas que
to
hacíamos
get a
para
footing for Krishna consciousness in the world, to provide funds for Prabhupada to print his books, to
predicar,
circulate his
para
books.
lograr
We
dinero,
did things
para
now that I
imprimir los
wouldn't do
libros
now,
de
and I wouldn't
Prabhupada.
recommend now. But
Nosotros
we did them
hacíamos hacer cosas que hoy no las
with all
harías
of
ni
our
las
heart and energy.
recomendarías, pero las hicimos con
Shed
todo
blood
nuestro
for that,
corazón y nuestras
and
energías.
we got bad publicity.
Y
We got bad
sacamos esta
publicity,
publicidad,
but we'd had
mala
no
publicidad,
publicity. So I likened it to kind of
pero
a
antes no
spiritual
teníamos ninguna
terrorism.
publicidad. Entonces yo siempre hago
Yasser Arafat was the first
paralelo
like
con
terrorist
el terrorismo
state,
espiritual. Arafat
for the what are they called?
fue el primer terrorista
Palestine.
para la causa
And so
de
he
Palestina.
started doing these atrocious things
Empezó
that
a
got
hacer estas
attention,
cosas
right?
horribles
But the
que
attention that he
lograron la
got, which was
atención del
negative,
mundo,
also gave some
pero la
attention
atención
to his
negativa
cause,
que
which had
él
been totally
dirigió hacia
obscured, in his
Palestina
opinion,
también
lost. That the Palestinians have a
hicieron de
cause,
forma
was
que
his
el
idea.
mundo
So
le prestara atención a la causa de
eventually,
Palestina.
Yasser
Luego
Arafat, from a terrorist,
con el tiempo,
became the head of
Arafat
state of
de
Palestine and sat at
terrorista
UN
se
meetings.
hizo el líder de Palestina y
So,
empezó
it's according to time and circumstance. What Prabhupada was doing
encontrarse
was
con otros líderes
unprecedented,
de otros países.
making new ground, and he was creating Sukriti for Bhakti everywhere and trying to just bring a big wave of Krishna consciousness
Entonces lo que
throughout the
estaba
world.
haciendo
So
Prabhupada era
it's an
crear
extraordinary
Sukriti para
circumstance.
todo
And
el
he
que
pushed
le cruzara su
persons,
camino.
and
Y
you go
creando
back and
olas
ask them,
de Sukriti.
all of them. They'll tell you
Yo
they're the
les
best
reto
times of their whole lives.
que le pregunten a
The
estos
Prabhupada
devotos.
pushed them, and they had deep experience.
Cada uno les va a decir que estos
maybe
eran los
he pushed
años
them
mejores
beyond
de
their
su vida,
adhikar,
cuando Prabhupada les empujaba
maybe
más
because
allá
of
de
who he
su
was,
adhikar.
he was capable
Pero
of pushing them beyond their adhikar.
debido a lo que
He
Prabhupada
left the
era,
world by
él
Krishna's
tenía
arrangement also,
el poder
and
de
things changed.
empujarlo
If
más
he had
allá de
stayed,
su
well, it's a
adhikar.
big if, as every if in such situations is what would have happened. You don't know, but I mean, his leaving caused another stage, right? Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj came on the scene, and there were problems and so forth, and all these arguments
Su
can come up now and so forth. But you know, you find how many disciples of Prabhupada will complain about how he pushed them beyond their adhikar.
Yo les reto a encontrar
You
cualquier
won't find
devoto
as many as you can count on one hand.
de lo mucho que los empujaba Srila Prabhupada. No vas a encontrar
And they know they got
tantos
something from
devotos para
that that they
contarlos en los
couldn't
dedos
get
de una
anywhere
mano.
else. He pushed
Porque
them.
ellos
We were
sabían
young, you know,
que lo que
and we
había en Srila
were
Prabhupada no lo iban a
ready for
encontrar en
anything.
ningún
We were
otro
living on the
lugar.
street, for God's sake, you know.
Nosotros ya vivíamos en la
We were ready
calle.
for anything, and
Ya
he
éramos
was there to give us
callejeros.
everything.
No éramos nada
And
y Prabhupada nos
we
dio
gave back.
todo.
We understood it in some way. By the grace of Nityananda Prabhu, we
Y
understood
por la
this is the
gracia
best
de
thing that could happen
Nityananda
to us,
Prabhu,
and we gave ourselves
entendimos
completely.
que esto es lo mejor
And
que nos pudo ocurrir
when I
y se lo
look back at the
devolvimos enteramente a
videos of
Prabhupada.
the early
Y cuando
times of the
yo
devotees, I
veo
see
los
them all in their
videos
swarups. Here they are,
viejos
you know, they're giving themselves
y
entirely.
veo a
That's
mis
who I
hermanos
know.
espirituales
So and so das. Makes
y
me
me los
cry
acuerdo así cuando se
to see
estaban
them,
entregando
those
enteramente a
times and
Srila
how they gave
Prabhupada.
themselves, and so that's who they are.
Eso es lo que
So
ellos
that he
son.
brought out who they were really, and they knew it.
Prabhupada sacó de ellos
And
lo que
so
ellos
it became obscured
son,
to
y
some
ellos lo
extent by
sabían.
time and circumstance and so forth. And their actual adhikar, you know, turned out to be, you know, over here instead of up here.
Luego con el tiempo cuando
so
Prabhupada se
forth.
fue,
But that's how I
esos
think
devotos
about
digamos que
all
volvieron a su
those
verdadero
times.
adhikar, ese como que bajaron de nivel, pero
Good times.
pero
Good times.
esos eran
powerful.
años.
Yeah.
So we have
bonitos.
we have a couple more questions. One is from Omkar. The next one's from Omkar.
Una pregunta de
Omkar Das.
Omkar.
Pranam Skurmash, can you hear me?
Entonces la pregunta de
I'm just
antes no era de
wondering which
Omkar.
Jaiva Dharma version you'd recommend me to read. There's a
Omkar
couple
solo se pregunta, ¿cuál
floating
es la
around. I
versión de
think
Jaiva
the other
Dharma?
one is by Narayan Maharaj.
Que me
The other one is
I think that Narayan Maharaj's edition is probably definitive. You should read that.
Hay una de Narayan
And
Maharaj.
you look a little bit like Meher Baba, and that's not a compliment.
Oh, what does that mean?
Well, Meher Baba was not a devotee. He was like, he dressed like a Sufi.
Dice, te pareces a no sé quién Baba, pero es un piropo y Omkar le dice, no sé qué quiere decir.
He was a person of my early times. But when Sanatana Goswami appeared, like you're appearing before Mahaprabhu, because he wanted to conceal himself
apareció
by stealing away from the Muslim government in the night.
Sanatana Goswami
like a fakir.
llegó a ver a Chaitanya Mahaprabhu y sin cortarse el pelo y la barba.
Like Munda Baba, I go again, or
yeah, that's nice, Munda Baba, or you know, comb your hair, shave your face. Of course.
Gurumaharaj le dice que
I'm a little unshaven today, but
se
if you live in the
peine,
Dham, that's another thing.
se afeite.
Perhaps if you live in the Dham,
Yo también no
shave
tengo
once every
barba.
2 weeks for
Si
a
uno
man.
vive en un
If you're
dhama,
out in the world preaching,
se puede afeitar cada una o dos veces, cada una o dos veces a la
meet them
semana.
on their terms and so forth.
Pero si uno vive en la sociedad, tiene que funcionar.
There's one more question from Sajan. Oh, actually, there's two more questions, but the last one might be too long, so let's take one more.
Dandavat Maharaj. I recently heard a statement by Srila Guru Maharaj in a YouTube video where he says that the aprakat lila of Krishna is based upon repetition and competition. And
sobre la repetición y la competición.
Also, I was just wondering, you know, your kind of take on that. And I guess the other component of it is there seems to be that it seems to be the case that devotees who have kind of like a penchant for peacefulness, that they would be consigned within the framework of Krishna Lila to things like being grass or trees, etc. Perhaps cows. peacocks, like that. Whereas I was just wondering if you had ever come across any kind of indication that there was some scope, some potential for someone who had who was not really, very much inclined towards competition and repetition, so to speak, like that, in Krishna Lila, rather than, for example, in Vaikuntha or elsewhere. Like that.
Let me say one thing, that when Sajjan Maharaj refers to Guru Maharaj, of course, he's referring to Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj. Sajjan Maharaj, many of you don't know, but he was initiated by Prabhupada, first initiation, if I recall correctly. And then eventually he got second initiation from Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj, who we would affectionately refer to as Guru Maharaj. So I've known him for a long time. So when he says Guru Maharaj, he refers to Sridhar Maharaj. And he is one of our Guru Maharajas. So with regard to your question, I think that the repetition in the Leela of Krishna speaks of its anurag nature. So anurag, the characteristic of anurag is that seeing Krishna, for example, every time, it's like you've never seen him before. Like so you can find these romantic leelas where Radha's meeting Krishna again, or Krishna's thinking of Radha again, speaking to Sabal, and it's like, what are you talking about? You were just with her last night. But he's like, remember, like for the first time. Again, it's coming. So this is the nature of the Leela. So the Leela repeats itself, right? In the course of the day, you got the same basic activities, although there are variations and so on and so forth. But every day, Radha is coming to the house of Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda to cook for Krishna, and it's as if she's coming for the first time in terms of the experience. So that's the repetitive nature. It's a dynamic kind of repetition. Repetition doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It can be a good thing. Right?
Sure.
And as far as the competitive nature of the Leela, competition is also a positive thing. Let's take sports, for example. In sports, they in the professional teams and so forth, they often bring in like 2 players or 3 players of the same position during the training and practice, so that because they'll compete with one another and they'll become stronger as a result. And they're all part of the team. Let's say you have 3 quarterbacks in the American football system. So each one's on the team, they're members of the team. One, in the context of the competition, shows himself to be better fit to lead in the first position, but it wouldn't be possible without the competition that the other 2 provided in practice, and they're ready to take over if he gets hurt or something like that. So that it's a unit. So there's a transcendental, positive kind of nature to competition in Krishna Lila. Prabhupada put it like this: everybody wants to please Krishna, so they compete with one another to please Krishna. But whoever wins, everybody's pleased with that person because Krishna's the most pleased. So I'm competing with you to please Krishna, but if you please Krishna more than me, then I'm happy. I'm not sad that I lost the competition. Everybody wins the competition. You have to look at it in a positive light. Now, as far as being peaceful and stoic or something like that, I think this refers more to a disposition of someone in this world, and it has its application in spiritual life and in practice and so forth. That would be that's conducive, can be conducive. I spoke earlier, even today, of the fact that bhakti rasa, this partial love, comes out of compassionate love. So the compassionate love is more what you're speaking about, and I think that's something to pass through, arrive at, if you will, and out of that bhakti rasa will come. Now we'll have the bhakti rasa, ideal in mind, of course, but But I don't think that
de qué estabas hablando, pero el Bhakti Rasa surge de
Shantarasa, for example,
pero yo no
is
pienso, por ejemplo, que el
that
Shantarasa
attractive to most
es tan
Gaudiya
cautivante
Vaishnavas.
para
Right,
muchos
that's correct. Yeah.
Gaudías.
Some say it has no application in Goloka.
No tiene aplicación en
Rupa
Goloka,
Goswami also
y
implies
Rupa
that it can be
Goswami
changed,
también
Sakyarasa, to
implica que el
Dasirasa,
Shantarasa
or
todavía se puede
Shantarasa,
cambiar
by association, because
a través de la asociación.
it's not, it only reaches up to Rati, not to Prem. But so I think that there
solo
are,
llega a Rati, no
there are different dispositions. You can find devotees that are very feisty, like Keshava
Pero hay
Maharaj,
diferentes disposiciones.
who
Hay
was,
devotos
compared to
muy,
Sridhar Maharaj, who was very
por ejemplo, Sridhar Maharaj era muy
equilibrium,
pacífico y
peaceful.
Keshav Maharaj era todo lo contrario.
Comparatively,
En
between the
comparación,
two,
entre
and they both have the
los dos,
same spiritual ideal in
y,
Vrindavan. So
y ambos
I
tenían el
wouldn't
mismo
impose,
ideal espiritual,
that
entonces
kind
yo
of
no diría
disposition
que
in this world on one's ultimate attainment.
yo no consideraría la
Well, based
disposición
on what you
personal de
just
cada
so
uno en
beautifully shared,
relación a su ideal que quieren
is it absolutely essential
obtener.
that
Otra pregunta tienes,
within
alguien,
Shanta Rasa kind of
es
sentiments
esencial
that it necessarily excludes altogether Dasya or Sakya like that? Is that a hard and fast ultimatum, so to speak?
The essence of Shantarasa
es una pregunta
is
sobre
included in
Shantarasa.
Dasya Rasa.
Okay. La esencia de Shantarasa
And the
está
essence of
incluida en
Dasya and
Dasya
Sakya
Rasa, y la
are
esencia
included,
de
Dasya and Shanta are included in
Shanta
Sakya.
y Dasya están incluidas en Sakya,
And
y
the
la
essence of
esencia
those
de
three are included in
Sakya y
Vatsalya
los
and so
demás
forth.
dos están incluidas en
Okay.
Vatsalya,
There is an ingredient
etc.
of Shanta
Entonces hay un
that
ingrediente de
is also
Shanta
there in Dasya.
que también se
So in other
encuentra en
words,
Dasya.
what I'm hearing now is that it's possible to be one of
Entonces
Krishna's
es posible
friends,
ser un amigo de Krishna,
just as an example, without
como un ejemplo,
wrestling with him or something like that.
sin luchar con
Yeah,
él.
and of course,
Como dice, sí, por supuesto.
there are anubhavas. Anubhavas
Hay
are
diferentes
certain
anubhavas
external voluntary
que son
movements
movimientos
out of a
voluntarios
particular
exteriores
sentiment.
que salen de un cierto
Within the
de
divisions
cada
of Sakyarasa,
sentimiento.
which there are four,
Dentro de las divisiones de
wrestling is
Sakyarasa,
particularly, for
lo de
example,
luchar
an anubhav of the
es un
Priyasakas.
anubhava de un Priyasaka.
Not necessarily so of this there are
Pero
sakas,
no
there are
mucho
Priyasakas, there
de
are
un
Suhrit
Saka
sakas, and
o
there
de un
are Narma
Suhrit Saka
sakas.
o de un
Right?
Narma Saka.
Yes.
So there are certain anubhavs that are more characteristic of one
Hay
type
algunos anubhavas
of
que son
saka
más
than another, and then there are
característicos
common ones
de un
that they
tipo de
all share.
Saka, y luego hay otros que
And
son
then
más
there are
comunes a
some of the
todos.
anubhavs of Dasirasa
Pero
also
algunos
apply
anubhavas
to
de
Sakyarasa,
Dasyarasa
and particularly
también se
to the
aplican a
sakas who
Sakyarasa,
have
especialmente el Saka,
whose fraternal love is tinged with
cuyo amor fraternal está teñido
servitude, with an element of servitude. So certainly you can
de un elemento de
so
servitud.
I want to say that amongst the temperaments of Krishna's
Entonces,
friends, there's a
entre
whole
todos
range. Just like there's a
las
whole range of
actitudes de
temperaments
los
in this
amigos de
world.
Krishna,
There are fiery sakas like Sridham,
hay
and they're very
muchísimas
they're very
variedades.
polite and
Hay
ones
algunos
who
como
deal very
Sridhama que siempre quieren luchar con
differently
él.
and might
Hay
not wrestle
algunos
with
que
it.
son
I mean,
más
Rock Talk is in Dasiras, but his Dasiras is touched by Saki. That's the opposite. So it can go the other way also. So there's a whole range of dispositions and personalities and so forth. And you can find amongst Krishna's friends, probably amongst the prominent friends, that much has been told about each one, but you could probably find one.
No se dijo mucho sobre cada pastorcillo, pero
identify with more in terms of that than others.
Pero uno se puede identificar con uno en vez que
Thank you so much,
otro.
Maharaj. Thank you.
Bueno, gracias, Maharaj.
Very cool.
Bueno,
So we're going a little over
tiempo.
time. I understand there's another question, but maybe we can hold off on
Hay
that
otra
for
pregunta,
next
pero
week.
vamos a verla
Sounds good.
el domingo.
Thanks so much, Gurumaj.
Okay, Haribo, nice to be
Gracias,
with you all.
Maharaj. Al parecer hay un anuncio de
And so we, Gaurangi Priya would like to make an announcement. I'll make a couple of announcements after that. Go ahead, Gaurangi.
Okay, Hi Paul, everybody. So yeah, I just wanted to make an announcement about, I put it up on Sri Chaitanya Sangha on Facebook last night, but I also wanted to put a little plug in for Guru Maharaj's Vyas Puja celebration and Gur Purnim that will be here in North Carolina again, like last year. And I think right now, currently, this is the only place where in the United States where we're having kind of festivals. So I really wanted to encourage devotees to come. It's really, really nice to be able to have some personal association with Guru Maharaj and be able to sit with him and hear from him personally. So we are trying to facilitate that, and I wanted to reach out because this year we're looking at trying to rent a facility. We've been having the festivals just at our house, which puts a little bit of strain on our household, and it can be a little bit hard facilitating for the bigger festivals, like especially Gur Purnim. So we're looking at renting a place, but the nice thing about this facility is that it does have rooms to rent. So if devotees from out of town wanted to have a place to stay, they could be on site, and you wouldn't even need like a car to be driving back and forth because we would have all the programs there. So I'm looking at trying to book that within this week. Fortunately, this place that's just 2 miles from us is available. Last year when we looked for the Gur Purnim festival, it had already been booked way in advance, but this year it's available. And so we're looking at booking it from Friday, March 3rd until the Monday, which is Gur Purnim, March 6th. And there's 7 beds, and 5 of them are in private rooms, and then there's 2 kind of loft beds. And whoever stayed there would have facility of the kitchen, and then there's multiple bathrooms as well. So if you would like to stay, come for the program and stay, or if you would like to contribute to help rent the facility, please reach out to me. The total cost is $4,500 for those days, so it would only really be financially doable if we did use the on-site facilities for devotees to stay. There's other places that we could rent that are more just a venue, but they wouldn't have necessarily a kitchen and places for devotees to stay. And if we don't have the financial ability, then we are looking at renting it just for Gur Purnim day, and that would be $1,800 to rent it just for the day. But if we did that, then any visiting devotees would have to find facility to stay. So that's about it. We have a really nice festival lining up, and any support, and support comes in so many ways: coming, financial, seva, once you're here, just reach out to me, and I'd love to connect. Thank you. Haribol.
Muchas gracias, Haribol.
Thanks, Garangi. What's the best way of reaching you?
Yeah, that's a good question. The best way is actually email and phone number, because I'm not on Facebook that often. So, or WhatsApp for people that are, so should I maybe put my phone number?
Yeah, if you just post it in the chat.
Okay, I'll put my phone number. And of course, if you write me on Facebook, I'll kind of check, especially this week, just to check in with devotees. So I will be there.
Okay, thanks so much. That sounds like a great idea to have that facility. I hope it goes well.
Thank you. Wish you could come.
Well, Guru Maharaj actually asked me to come, so if I can, what's the word? Extract myself from all the busyness, so I'd love to come.
Yay! All right.
After 10 years.
Put the email.
Okay. Please come.
Put your email.
I'm trying to do that right now. Thank you.
So a couple other quick announcements. One thing is Guru Maharaj is talking about those crazy times, or those amazing times during Prabhupada's day, and I just got this book called Oh Hare Krishna Airport. It's by Charnakarta Das. and it's this incredible account of the O'Hare Chicago airport times with Guru Maharaj there and all these other devotees. It's like reading some like devotional Huckleberry Finn story. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So if you want to get like a real kind of like first-hand account of what it was like then when Prabhupada's Shakti was just like rushing through, I highly recommend reading that book. Then the second thing I want to talk about is the Tattva Vivek series. So just a brief thing of what's coming up is next Thursday, Brigu Pad is giving a class on the Bhagavatam. And then the week after that, I'm going to start this new series. It's maybe like every 6 weeks or something. Well, it's not exactly new. I'm kind of continuing the same idea as the Sadhaka's Journey lectures. And so I'm going to have these conversations with different devotees from our Sangha, and maybe a little more conversational than the Sadhaka's Journey was. And so that's going to be on the 2nd of, oh, I'm sorry, that's actually March, never mind. So yeah, but there's going to be one class every Thursday. I got mixed up there, but I can't remember what's after next week. I don't know if Brighton is still on, but maybe Madan Mohan can fill in a little bit. Oh yeah, they're still here. Madan,